Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hi, and welcome back to Journey Forward with Jory Rose. I am really looking forward to the conversation today with Tina Anderson. Tina, welcome. I'm so glad to have you on the show and really can't wait to hear more about the fabulous work you're doing to get people healthy from the inside out in a way, I guess, is a way to speak about how you have created these probiotics and believe in this gut-brain connection to really get people thriving in their life. So please tell us more and welcome. So glad to talk with you.
Oh, thanks, Jory. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here because your podcast is everything I'm about. I love all of this, all of what you do, and thank you for having this platform out there.
Yeah, it's, especially now more than ever, we need these tools. We need to figure out what is not working in my life and what can I do that actually is within my power to feel healthy and thriving and content and happy and peaceful and joyful and all the beautiful intentions we all have, don't always know how to get there.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's actually because I've always been like that. That's why I'm in the spot where I'm at right now. I was telling you earlier, I'm an attorney. I was in litigation for many years, and then I went into the pharmaceutical industry, which I thought was great because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm in this industry that's helping people and making the world a healthier place. But after being in it a while, I started to notice that really it wasn't, helping everybody. I mean, it does help people for acute conditions and acute, issues that are going on or emergency medical type situations. But I just saw with like chronic conditions, people weren't getting better. And I read a lot of Wayne Dyer and Norman Vincent Peale. I grew up reading Wayne Dyer. My dad was a huge fan. And my husband and I would read these books and we're like, my gosh, we are not doing our life's work. And it just didn't feel right. And we were living our lives differently than we were in what we were doing in our careers. And
that takes a huge moment of self-compassionate awareness to recognize, like, wait a second, I've been on this trajectory and I am now realizing something's out of alignment. And I think many people have that awareness, but don't actually take the courageous action to make that change.
Yeah. No,
yet you did that.
Yeah.
Right.
And every time I'm interviewed anywhere, I'm always like trying to convince people to do that. I'm like, you need to do that. It's the most fulfilling, when you could follow your passion and your dreams.
Yeah.
How it doesn't even feel like work. It is the hardest I've ever worked in my life. There's no doubt about it, but it doesn't feel like the work,
I saw a quote yesterday that I think really speaks to this, and it was something to the effect, I'm probably not going to say it accurately, but it was something to the effect of, when you know your why, you'll figure out your how.
Absolutely. Yep.
And it's so simple, and yet it was so profound, because I think many of us are just on that hamster wheel of life and aren't really connected to a clear why, or a really discerning why. There's an obvious why of, I've got to pay the bills, I've got to take care of the kids, I've got to, get this next task done. But when we really connect to our why, the how, it'll figure itself out. I'm a big believer in that intention setting and being in alignment, and then the how presents itself.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And we always say our why is to empower people to take health into their own hands and to empower people. We want to really make a massive change in this world. We want to make sure that people are not taking a medication for joint pain that now causes them stomach issues. Then they take something for stomach issues, and then they have suicidal thoughts. And
it's like those horrible commercials, like the side effects are worse than the problem. You're like, I don't want all of that. I'll deal with the headache.
Exactly. And it's the classic case of them just, slapping a Band-Aid on it and then making situations worse, where we're looking to say, figure out what the cause of the problem is. Figure out what is really the root cause of why you have a stomach issue, or why you have a skin rash, or why you have an autoimmune issue. Figure out why that is, get to that root problem, and then, make a change and go to maybe a functional medicine type of an approach, or someone where it's going to focus on the whole body and really focus on your entire health and
Right.
not just put a Band-Aid on a symptom that you have.
Yeah, it kind of feels to me like spot reducing like weight loss. Like you got to do it from the whole perspective. You can't just, can I just get that one part of my size fixed without having to focus on the whole body exercise?
Yes, no, and actually you'll love this because a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine actually she had done it. She's a super clean eater, eats, I mean, unbelievably healthy and, exercise, does all things. She couldn't lose the weight. She found out she was actually dealing with a past trauma, and she actually worked with not a therapist, but she did some other types of therapy, and she ended up like shedding 50 pounds. I mean, she's like, I didn't change anything. It's amazing that people don't realize this connection between how important your mind is. And that's why most of the people listening, I'm sure already, the fact that they're listening to you already have figured that out. But boy, if we could spread that word to people.
You know what? I'm such a huge believer in that. One of the places that I've come across, and this is like kind of a little bit of a shameless plug, but that's okay, is there's a retreat center in Costa Rica that I've been to twice, that my fiance and I are, God willing, the world can handle this, leading a retreat in September in Costa Rica. It's called Pura Vida Retreat and Spa. We're doing a couples retreat. And their wellness center there is unlike any other wellness center. I mean, you're not just getting a massage. You're not just getting a treatment. It is a full body spiritual from the inside out. These practitioners, because one of the things when I was there last time, you'll appreciate this, is I was feeling really bloated. Mm-hmm. And I eat pretty darn healthy, and I used to be overweight by about 70 pounds, and I've kept all the weight off, and well, the majority of the weight, the healthy part that had to come back on, came back on. But I was really bloated, and I just couldn't make sense of it. And I went into these different treatments, and when I'm there, I indulge, and I get a different treatment every day because it's such a gift to work with these practitioners. And it was so fascinating because my bloatedness, they were connecting to me holding on to the energy of the work I'm doing with my clients.
Wow.
That I was, when unfolding these questions of why am I doing the work that I do as a therapist and as a mindfulness and meditation teacher, and one of my answers is always because I believe that growth and change is possible. Mm-hmm. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. Like, I really believe that. And she said to me, one of the practitioners was, you're expecting too much change from your clients and you're holding on to that energy. And then we were tapping into some transgenerational patterns, and it went back to my great grandmother. I mean, like, seriously, all of this became connected. And I really meditated on, what are my expectations? What am I holding on to? What do I need to release? And I did some of that meditation, and what felt like release of some of these transgenerational stories that were preventing me. And I'll tell you, Tina, I came back and I didn't feel bloated.
Wow.
But that mind-body connection is really powerful of what are we taking in and what are we not letting go of?
Yeah.
And I think to me, it really feels like only that tip of the iceberg of truly understanding the power of our mind and the power of our thoughts. And what you're going to tell me more about, and which I conceptually know, but need to be able to speak it in greater understanding and languaging around the physical aspect of this gut connection. And I know that the gut is considered the second brain. And but tell me more, because I see this coming up all the time.
Yeah, I would love to. And that's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that with me.
It was so powerful. So anyone who wants to come, experience these practitioners, come with me to Costa Rica. We all need the healing, but it's healing on a different level, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
We need to be open to the fact that we can heal in a different way from what we may have always thought.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, it's about the gut-brain connection. I mean, really, just to go real basic, as far as gut health itself, gut health is responsible for virtually every aspect of our overall health. I think people have always associated, any gut problems with the gastrointestinal issues like gas or bloating or diarrhea, constipation, acid reflux, all those things. And those are, in fact, great signs that you have some type of gut imbalance or gut dysbiosis going on. But people don't realize that most people, and they are starting to now, but most people don't realize that the gut also is responsible for skin issues. They're responsible for cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, all these things. And it's responsible for anxiety and depression, and those types of things. So there is there's something called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve, as you know, is the largest nerve in our body that connects the brain and the gut. And their communication, it's like a communication superhighway, and there's signals going back and forth from the brain to the gut. And people don't realize that 90% of our serotonin is produced in our gut. All these neurotransmitters are produced. Dopamine is produced in our gut. All of these really important neurotransmitters and hormones are being produced in our gut. And so if our gut is not healthy, it's not producing as much serotonin. And it's ground zero. If you're dealing with anything like anxiety or depression, you want it. There are other things you could do. Of course, mindfulness, breath work, all kinds of really great things. Right. But you have to also start with your gut. I mean, your gut is first and foremost. And the interesting thing is that maybe you're feeling really panicky or anxious, and then all of a sudden you start having gas or bloating or diarrhea, constipation. Because remember, the brain also sends signals to the gut. Right. Maybe you've got a lot of overgrowth of bad bacteria, you've got a lot of pathogenic bacteria, all that kind of stuff. And now the gut is sending signals to the brain. So it goes both ways. So really important to do your mindfulness practices, whatever they may be. And then also make sure you're taking care of your gut microbiome. Right. And the best part, unlike pharmaceuticals, when you're taking care of your gut, you have all other kinds of really great benefits. Your immune system, 70% of our immune system is found in our gut tissue, in the lining of the gut. I mean, the most important, this crazy time we live in right now, the most important thing we could be doing is taking care of our gut health and taking high doses of vitamin C and getting enough sleep and all those types of things. But, gut health is paramount. I mean, there was just a speaker on TV yesterday, a doctor on TV talking about we need to take care of our microbiome, and that is first and foremost, but especially to the health, our mental health.
Yeah. And, I think one of the things that's so fascinating about that is, again, I'm not certain we fully understand the mind-body connection.
Yeah, no, I know. I agree. And it's so funny. There was an article once out there that said, my bacteria made me eat the cupcake, and it is because it's truly your gut dictating your cravings. And, we have a study on our product that showed that it actually increased the communication between the gut and the brain. So it caused people, like your brain, to know that you were filled. Your ghrelin hormones were, meeting where they needed to meet, because they were now letting the brain know that you are full. So it's pretty fascinating. And people, trust your gut. I mean, you really should trust your gut, because there's a lot of truth to that saying. So listen to your gut.
Your body tells you a lot of information. And, this was one of the things that really got me into mindfulness, actually, was I recognized I was living in my head. Mm-hmm. I recognized that I thought feelings, I didn't really feel feelings. And I realized how disconnected from that sense in my core, that body connection, my intuition, if I had this cognitive dissonance over what I was thinking, what I was feeling, my habit was to believe what I was thinking, because that's just what I did. And it felt a little bit more in control, right? Mm-hmm. On some level, because I was afraid to necessarily trust my gut, because it was requiring me to make changes.
Yeah. Yep.
And once I recognized, okay, the messages got louder and louder, I needed to not just listen to my head because it wasn't serving me. It was my mindfulness practice that allowed me to slow down, to tune into my body, to say, okay, body, I hear you. Yep. And not only do I hear you, but I trust you. And I can use you as my guide, because that's not going to lie. But my mind can create thoughts that aren't based in reality, but I would still believe and act as if they were real.
Yep. Yep, that's awesome. That is incredible.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple of things, and I want to ask about what are the really natural ways to start creating greater gut health. So you said two things that I want to ask, and then see what else there is. And then there's like your actual products. But, the natural ways that anybody who's listening right now can start to do without having to buy anything specific, right? What are some of the ways that we can improve our gut health right off the bat? So you mentioned vitamin C and sleep. So talk more about those, and what else is there?
Yeah, well, the vitamin C, I was just mentioning that for immune health. Yeah, I don't think necessarily for your gut, but just for immune health. Of course, we know vitamin C, but sleep is so important. I mean, in the world we're living in, people are not getting the amount of sleep they need. Not sleeping can mess with your circadian rhythm. I mean, all that kind of stuff. So I always think sleep is, paramount to so much of our overall health. So definitely sleep. I also, avoiding antibiotics, at all costs, unless it's a life-threatening type of a situation. But we know that antibiotics save lives, and I would never suggest that you don't take them if it's a life-threatening situation. But we really need to avoid antibiotics. One round of antibiotics could stay in your system for up to 2 years.
Wow.
And the other scary thing is, and avoiding processed foods and all that kind of stuff, because we know, and we really want to focus on eating clean organic food, because even though our organic food still has some glyphosates and pesticides on it, we know that glyphosates, like antibiotics, glyphosates are the active ingredient in Roundup. We know both of those things are wreaking havoc on our gut on a daily basis. So we really want to try to eat clean, obviously eat as healthy as possible. Avoiding sugar. Sugar is another, it contributes to the overgrowth of yeast like candida and those types of things in the gut. So we really want to avoid sugar. We really want to make sure we're, sleeping, getting enough sleep. I always encourage people to have a mindfulness practice, breath work. I do meditate, and I've meditated for a long time, but I feel like sometimes people have trouble with it, and I make fun of them, but I've had a little bit better luck with breath work. And so, but I think whatever mindfulness practice works for you, I think, you want to do that kind of stuff. So, and then of course, taking a high quality store-based probiotic is incredible. I mean, it's been incredible. So.
Yeah, and some of the things you mentioned seem really intuitive and yet so hard to do, right? I mean, just the changes in habit of foods. I mean, I was thinking as you were talking of some of the things that I quote, no, I shouldn't be eating, and yet I still do because I'm not quite ready to give that up. And at some point we have to ask our question, at what cost?
Yep. At what cost? Exactly.
And, it's interesting because to me, it always comes back to awareness, right? I mean, my passion is mindfulness. And so I think awareness is the answer to everything, because we can't change what we're not aware of. We can't even recognize we have an issue unless we're paying attention and being aware. And yet at some point, and this is, timely in a sense, as we are now entering into this hopefully short-term new normal of the quarantining and what's going on with the coronavirus. And I'm not exactly going to be sure when this episode will air, but I know that the moment that we're recording this, I just got the email notification a few hours ago that my county is one that is now shelter in place up until mid-April. So at least 3.5 weeks. And, so sometimes we have to change habits that are inconvenient.
Yep.
And I'm a big believer that even when it's hard, there's an underlying shift that can occur for the better.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Right? So, I mean, all the changes that we're having to do in our world right now, and I believe it's the universe's way of offering up an invitation to say, all right, you guys, time to come together, time to be collective we got to create a change because we need some better health for the universe, for the planet, for our people, for our families, for our connections, for all of it. And this doesn't, discount the gravity of the situation from the people suffering from the virus, so I don't want to undermine that. But it feels like anytime we're called to rise up, so to speak, we can create greater change. And, change isn't easy.
Yeah. No.
And so some of the things you're describing aren't easy, but we can listen to that invitation to say, yes, and what are the benefits you can gain?
Right. Oh, yeah. There's so many benefits in this whole, there's so much that's so hard that what we're going through right now, but there's so much to be grateful for in the situation, and having more time with your family and loved ones, having more time at home and doing different things. There's a lot that hasn't been positive. Of course, we all know that, but gratitude is an underlying core value in our company. It's a word that has changed my life, and just a practice that's changed my life. And when you start focusing on gratitude, you just shift your focus from.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite ways to have a gratitude practice? What do you do? What does it look like?
Yeah, I have a gratitude journal on my nightstand, and so I do that at night. And the reason why it was so powerful is that my aunt, who I was really close with, she was really young. She was like way younger than my mom and older than me. And she, in fact, she came, and the name of our product is Just Thrive. And she actually came up with that name. And shortly after we launched, she actually passed away very suddenly. And it was very, very hard for all of us, our whole family. And I was just so sad. I went through all the stages, like anger, sadness. And like, she was like, I walked with her every day. She was like my best friend. Everything to me. And she, and I just couldn't even write in my journal. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't write in this. I'm like, what am I going to be grateful for? This was so unfair. Why did this happen? And then I just started writing. Something came over me, like literally something came over me. And I just started writing it to the point where like my hand like would not write anymore. It was about to fall off because and I just went through my whole life with her, from when I was a little girl to when she had kids to when I had kids, and how we were there. And I'm like, oh my God, I have goosebumps right now as I'm telling this, because it's like I had such a deep relationship with my aunt, where so many people don't have any relationship anywhere near level. And so I just shifted my focus, and like the life that we had together was so amazing, and it was not long enough. Boy, was it rich. It was so rich those years. So the gratitude journal has been really, really helpful. And just even like I sign every one of my emails with gratitude. Our whole team does. We're very, it's like we have the most incredible culture in our company. Everybody loves each other. It's awesome. It's so
beautiful. Well, and I imagine from an energetic place, that's only going to put really good energy into your product. Like, I don't know, I think energy is really, really powerful. So when you come from that as a source, whatever you're producing, whether it be a physical product like a capsule or like what you're doing with your probiotics, whether it's interactions, energy holds a lot to it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you completely. I mean, I'm always sending out the good energy everywhere, and I agree with you too.
And what about, do you recommend people do food journals?
Oh yeah, I think anytime you want to do, having a food journal just makes you be conscious of what you're doing. And so I think the more consciousness you bring to your life, the better the more, not creative, but like the more you plan your own path, you create your own future.
Right.
So I think the more consciousness to food journals,
And it's funny too, because I was thinking too about like the whole idea of having to create change and have it be like, things I have to take away, right? Because that's the hard part. I think when people are confronted with something needs to change, it's easy to look at what I'm giving up versus what am I gaining.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know I've been like downing broccoli because of the high vitamin C in it. So it's so funny. And it's just, you focus on that,
Focus on the outcome. Yeah. How would you say once you start taking, something like a probiotic or start cutting out these sugars, might it be until someone starts noticing a shift in how they feel?
I think it all depends on what you're experiencing. So if you have some really, pretty severe digestive issues, the interesting thing is with our product, people tend to notice it sooner because creating the shift in the microbiome. So as far as, I think sleep and avoiding sugar, I think sugar you're going to notice, obviously you'll notice like weight loss and things like that, but the more beneficial bacteria you have, the more regular you're going to become, the more, you're just going to start noticing these differences. With our product, we've seen people within 2 weeks see incredible, differences. But then there are people who maybe have, I never had any digestive issues in my life. And when I started taking it, it was like, okay, now I understand what being regular is. Like I used to always think I was regular, but I'm like, okay, now I understand what being regular and how good you feel and how much energy you have and that kind of thing. So it depends on kind of what you're dealing with. But literally people with like skin issues find, they sometimes within a couple weeks.
Wow. It's amazing. I was kind of chuckling a second ago because I was just, saying in my own head, just, literally and figuratively, shit just gets you down. You need to let that shit go.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it really does. I mean, the toxins build up. I mean, it's so important to be really regular.
Years ago, okay, now here's where I go like into vulnerability and disclosure, but I'm all good with that. But years ago, I went to a place to go get colonics.
Okay.
And there was this Eastern European couple who owned the place, like from Hungary or Romania or somewhere kind of, Eastern European, and not Middle East, but Eastern European, I apologize. But they were telling me that in that part of the world, gut health is as common as like going to the dentist.
Yeah.
That people talk about being regular or not, and pooping or not, and their digestive issues so openly because they see it as such a core fundamental foundation of overall health. Yeah. And the same way that we would go to the dentist, they go for colonics to get cleaned out, to keep it healthy. And it's interesting how culturally, I think in our society, we don't talk about this as easily. Like, it's embarrassing if you have to go to the bathroom. It's embarrassing if your stomach hurts or you have gas. And what this couple was telling me, if something's not right in your gut, it's an indication something is wrong everywhere. Like you can have a headache and have it just be a headache, but like when something's wrong in your gut, it's a huge warning sign of something's not in alignment, something's not working.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's amazing because it's what contributes to autoimmune disease and all of these things. And yeah, I couldn't agree with them more.
Yeah. So interesting how we need to just open up the conversation of talking about this stuff, and not just the benefits, but like the problems, because like I think people get really embarrassed to say I'm bloated, or, something's not feeling right in my gut. Yeah. And yet when can we just have greater compassion? Yeah, this, is part of the human experience, and how can we, create greater ease around where we're experiencing these challenges?
Right. No, it really truly is ground zero for your overall health, because, even if you're eating super healthy, if your gut is inflamed, it's not absorbing nutrients. I mean, we've seen this all the time. People with IBS, they have crazy gut issues and they can't absorb nutrients. They'll eat all the time and they're not absorbing any nutrients. They're not absorbing other supplements they're taking. So it's really, really important that the first thing you're taking care of in your health is your gut, because it's going to affect every aspect of our overall health.
So tell me a little bit more about the product that you created.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, it's called Just Thrive Probiotic. We actually have 5 or 6 different products, but our probiotic is our flagship product. And the reason we created it was because we saw the Human Microbiome Project came out by the National Institutes of Health that told us more about the gut than we ever knew before. Mm. And this is why we know this now, how it's impacting virtually every aspect of our overall health. The problem that was the products on the market, where most of the probiotic supplements on the market were dying before they ever got to the intestines. You might see that like people will say, oh, to be a good probiotic, it needs to be refrigerated because it's alive, right? It's a live microorganism. The problem is it doesn't need to be alive in the refrigerator. It needs to be alive in the intestines. And so the overwhelming majority of probiotics are made up of these Lactobacillus bifidobacter strains. And
well, that's a big word. What was that again?
Lactobacillus is one type of a strain, and then there's bifidobacter. And okay. So those are like 99% of the probiotics in the market are made up of those types of strains. The problem is we know they're sensitive organisms and they have difficulty surviving the gastric system. And so they get there and they're pretty much dead bacteria therapy, which does do something, believe it or not. It's kind of like that Band-Aid. They may help with some of the symptoms. But spore-based probiotics are the type of probiotics that are found in Just Thrive. And when we started this, we actually had this, it's just crazy. We like meditate. I swear it's like the universe sent this to us, because we were offered the rights to these strains from London University, Dr. Simon Cutting, world-renowned probiotic expert. he really did not want these shelved by some other larger companies. And so we got the opportunity to buy the exclusive rights to these strains. And so these are spore-based probiotics. And the biggest difference between them and the majority of probiotics on the market is their ability to survive the gastric system. They have this endospore shell around itself. Like, think of it as like an armor-like coated shell. And it gets into the intestines and they take the shell off. And that's when they become alive. So it's a very different approach than any of the probiotics on the market. And we've also elevated the standards by doing research. We have double-blind human clinical trials on our actual product, not just on certain strains in the product, but on our product. So we've seen incredible results with people, and it's just been the most gratifying thing I've ever done. And that's why I'm always telling people, follow your life's work, follow your passion, and do what you want to do. Because I save the emails, moms whose kids have had terrible problems. We speak at a lot of autism events, and kids on the spectrum have really bad gut dysbiosis. I save these voicemails from people and emails and handwritten letters from people that have just, where it's changed their lives, and it's really incredible. It's been really
so fulfilling. What are some of the other products that you have under the Just Thrive?
Yeah. Well, we have our probiotic, we have our prebiotic, which is the food.
So what is the difference there?
So if you envision a garden and the garden's been stepped on and trampled on and there's weeds growing all over the garden, and you kind of analogize that to your gut like your intestines. In the garden, the probiotic goes in there and it gets rid of the weeds, and it also gets rid of, and it helps the plants that have been stepped on and trampled on and brings it back to life. The prebiotic is the food in there. The problem with prebiotics, though, is that they'll feed the weeds as well as the good bacteria. Ours, we've chosen very careful strains. We've carefully chosen strains or fibers that only they target the good bacteria in the gut, or the good plants in the gut. They're not, a lot of times people will take prebiotic and it may make the problem worse. It might actually.
Because it's feeding the weeds.
Right, exactly.
So in that same garden analogy, so I understand, what does an antibiotic do?
The antibiotic kills the weeds, and it also kills the good plants.
Okay.
And the glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, it only kills the good plants. It doesn't even kill the weeds. So it's even worse. So
isn't that ironic?
It's really ironic. It's so...
The active ingredient Roundup doesn't kill the weeds. Isn't that what the whole Roundup is supposed to be doing? Literally and figuratively, it's ironic.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And then we have a IgG product, which is an immunoglobulin G, which is, of course, selling like crazy right now because it's one of the best things we could do to support our immune system. Immunoglobulins it's like the most common antibody that we have in our body, and its job in the body is to attack antigens. So attack like mold toxins, pathogenic bacteria, all the invaders in our gut. And our IgG product is actually just allowing us to have more IgG in our bodies to help fight off those, to support our immune system. So
yeah, which right now, between stress, anxiety, and natural cold and flu season and allergy season on top of this virus, we need all the immune support we can get, huh?
I'm so grateful. We just sent, my parents and my in-laws are down in Arizona. We last week sent them a whole bunch of the IgG and the probiotic. I mean, they already took it, but we're like, you need to take double right now. You need to take a whole bunch, because they're of that age group, so they're super healthy and everything, but we just want to make sure that they're taken care of. So yeah, that we have, we also have a we have a gluten away product, which is great for, it's not meant to replace a gluten-free diet. Gluten is very, very hard on our digestive system. And it's basically for people who are gluten-free or are really trying to avoid gluten, to help your body defend against the accidental exposure to gluten, because there's a enzyme in there called tolerase G that is really one of the most important enzymes out there to help your body basically cut up all the gluten proteins into small pieces so they're not toxic.
Your body can digest it.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
And we have our other product is a vitamin K27 product. And a lot of people don't know what vitamin K27 is, but vitamin K2's job in the body is to remove calcium from the arteries where we don't want it and put it into the bones where we do want it. So its job is to direct calcium. So if people are taking vitamin D or if they're taking calcium, they should definitely be taking vitamin D or vitamin K27. So we don't have a product, we don't have 200 products. Our whole vision is to bring products that are missing in the market and so desperately needed by people. We are looking for things that are well researched and things that are really missing, and they're going to make a huge impact on this world by living a healthier life. So we're not. I mentioned vitamin C. It is seriously one of my favorite supplements. Magnesium is one of my favorite supplements. We don't make either of those because right now there's other companies that are doing it great. So that's the biggest.
I love it. And Tina, I think this is so timely. Health is always important, and I'm so glad to be talking to you right now because we know just how much that mind-body connection impacts our overall health. It's easy to focus on just one aspect of our health, and I love that this is broadening the conversation for people to be really curious and make some changes around their gut health to not only get us through this uncertain time right now, but to really make some lasting health decisions that can impact them for years to come.
Yes. Yeah. I feel the same exact way. I feel the exact same way.
So how can people find you, Tina? What's the best way if people are like, oh my God, I need these products right now. Tina, this sounds amazing. I didn't realize how much I need this. Where can they find you?
Our website's probably the best. It's justthrivehealth.com. And we're on Instagram, Just Thrive Health. We're on Facebook as Just Thrive. So, anytime anybody wants to talk to our customer service team, they are incredibly knowledgeable and incredibly kind and so fun to talk to. So
fantastic. And I do know that we have a coupon code that will be in the show notes for people who want to get access to some of these products and want to save a little bit money in order to test them out. So be sure to check out the show notes where you can receive that coupon code. And Tina, thank you so much for your knowledge. Thank you so much for following your passion and going on that journey that took you from good litigation work in the law field to say, wait a second, that's good work and it's not the work I'm meant to be doing. So it takes a lot of courage to follow your gut and trust that you're on the right path. And it's really beautiful that you're putting such passion and gratitude into the work because I believe people will ingest that. Literally, they're ingesting that intention.
Well, thank you very much, Jory. I really appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you having this platform. I think it's amazing. I love having people live a more mindful life.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, stay healthy, be well, and really thank you for the tools. I know that so many of us out there are looking for so many different resources to manage our overwhelming changes that are happening in the world right now. So we can, I like to say, this is all ways to, different doors into the same room. And that room that we all want to be in is happy, peaceful, content, and healthy. So this is just another avenue to get there.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care and be well.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat. Visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.